Welcome to Click for Biology. This video is on the topic of pathogens. Pathogens are disease-causing organisms. If you want to make your own notes, there's a PDF down in the description. You can download that and annotate with your own notes as we go along. So pathogens are agents that cause disease. Organisms that cause disease. The major groups of pathogens include viruses, bacteria, fungi, and the Protoctista. Now, viruses we haven't spoken of at this point. A classic virus which causes disease would be influenza virus, and this is known to cause the disease influenza, or abbreviated to flu. Now, unlike the other three pathogen groups, influenza, just like all the other viral diseases, is not a cellular organism. Viruses are composed of a protein shell, and inside the protein shell is a nucleic acid. Now, if we remember the characteristics of Mrs. Gren, which we have used, Mrs. R. Gren, apologies, which we have used to define living and non-living, then viruses are not cellular and they do not have all of these characteristics. Indeed, viruses cannot replicate unless they are actually inside another living cell. When they do so, the virus attaches to the outside of the cell like so, injects its nucleic acid, DNA, or RNA inside the cell, and the cell will then copy that nucleic acid. You can see here that there are many nucleic acids. The cell copies the DNA into multiple copies, and it builds lots of these external protein capsids or coats. And then what happens is that the nucleic acid goes inside the capsid. The virus then bursts out of the cell, damaging the cell. And this is the nature of viral diseases. And so if you've had influenza or the common cold as an alternative, you'll know that this produces as symptoms lots of mucus and lots of material in your coughing, and that is largely the cells, your cells, which have been destroyed by the virus. So controversial whether viruses are regarded as living things or not. The second group of bacteria are the bacteria rather. So these are, of course, the prokaryotes in our list. And here we have Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So, of course, this causes tuberculosis, the disease tuberculosis of the chest and the respiratory system. And then we've got this one here, Vibrio cholera. Vibrio means comma-shaped. The bacterial cells are comma-shaped. And then cholera tells us that this is causing the disease cholera, which is spread through contaminated water. As we go through learning our four groups of pathogens, it's necessary for you to remember an example of each one so that you can use that to illustrate your answers in examination. So influenza as an example of virus, Mycobacterium or Vibrio as an example of bacteria. And then if we move to fungi, the most famous one is the Trichophyton. Awkward name, but Trichophyton. And this one is associated with a very, very common infectious condition called athlete's foot, in which fungi move from one person's feet to another, usually because one shares either shoes or socks. And so that's something worth avoiding. The condition is easily treated with antifungal powders and creams before it becomes too severe. Then we return to our Protoctista, the eukaryotic cells. So virus is non-cellular, bacteria are prokaryotes, and these two here, these are eukaryotic examples, the fungus. So now we're into the Protoctista, and we come back to Plasmodium, which is a single cell, and this single cell lives inside of red blood cells and is associated with the disease malaria. So we'll say more about that when we're actually looking at blood. For the moment, we learned that pathogens are agents that cause disease. We learn one non-cellular example, a prokaryotic example, and two eukaryotic examples from the fungi and the Protoctista. Here's the questions. Pause the video, attempt to answer those questions. You'll find the answers are linked into the description below, which is a chance for you to also subscribe or even like the video. That would be very much appreciated. And then we'll link you through to the next parts of the course.